John Lewis Duggan. Adam Kaplan Eisenberg. Theodore Frederick Engel. Jessica Caitlin Dendrata Ernst. Jillian Janet Farrell. Jenna Becky Feldman. Kate Wilner Fieldsteel. William Falali Baba. Mark Christopher Fitzgerald. Christopher Michael Fondas. Nathaniel Solomon Fox. Ariel Brooke Reed. Julie Rose Freeman. Jonathan C. Fung. Alexandra Sarah Berman. Cheryl Beth Berman.
Teresa Jean Oles. Stephen R. Owens. Caroline Elizabeth Andrews. Elizabeth Monty Parker.
Say goodbye to Mark.
Yes, happy graduation, Mark. We love you.
Oh, there's food inside for anybody who wants it.
Look at the boys. Hello, Mira. We're here, enjoying another fabulous trip into
The past.
It's really weird. Crazy.
I'm going behind her.
I'm being obnoxious, guys.
The video lady.
The picture lady. No, Mr. Picture Lady. No.
It's one of them.
Hello.
My name is Mark Fitzgerald, and he is my brother. To write about my narrative biography. I chose him because he's my brother, and I enjoy spending time with him. I chose him because he's my brother, and I enjoy spending time with him. Today I'll be sharing Chapter 3, Mark's plans for the future.
And Mark is actually here, so we
Mark wants to be a skin doctor. He really likes science. If he does not get to be a skin doctor, he wants to be a medical doctor. When Mark is older, he wants to marry more than
The last like 2 weeks. That's why I'm despaired of him. I'm despicable of his party.
Yeah.
I know this part.
Hello.
Who would have thought your brother would get us into the poor or whatever it is called?
That you can do it tomorrow?
This was fun to say.
Some little girls in the area. One was named Storm. And one was named. What's the other one? I mean, there were two like weather-related names.
They were just heavy buttons with a lot of metal. The buttons once I took off my coat. That might set it off.
Okay, we just have a few quick business items to take care of in the ceremony, and I will be turning over the microphone shortly to Brent Henry, who will be leading that award ceremony and tell you more about that prestigious award. And at the conclusion of that ceremony, Brent will introduce his friend Larry Lupino to give some thoughts on things that go on in Larry Lupino's life. And he'll take some questions and answers. I know time is tight for him, so but I'm sure he'll give us as much time as he can. And finally, at the end of the evening, we'll conclude with the singing of Old Mass Song. Okay, that's it.
You have to stay right here. I just want to give Greg a little present. He has led us for 2 years, and many years before that. Excuse me. Greg has led us here for 2 years, and quite a few years before that. And he has done such a wonderful, wonderful job. And I just have a small token of all of our appreciation. And you'll notice the wrapping paper is not Princeton, it's actually baseball. That's Greg that we're here. But Greg, thank you very, very, very much.
Thank you to Betsy also. Thank you. Okay, so without any further ado, I'll turn over to Brent Henry.
Good evening, everybody. It's great to see such a great crowd out here. Once again, let's all give Greg a great hand. And I want to thank Greg and Sarah for allowing allowing this award ceremony to be the beneficiary of Payne's largesse this evening. I can tell you that, as some of you may have seen at your places, this is an award that's spreading and growing and moving around the country, and leadership like Payne has shown in terms of adopting it as an integral part of your annual meeting really does create an inspiration as it spreads to other cities. A few introductions before we get to the meat of the evening. Recognizing that race is still one of the most intransigent problems that we have in our nation. This idea is really the brainchild of one person. His name is Henry von Coburn, class of 1966. He's the former National Schools Committee chairman at the Princeton Alumni Council. And it was really Henry who came up with the idea that we really ought to be looking more closely at recognizing high school students who make a difference, to promote harmony and understanding and respect among people of different races by identifying and recognizing these students whose efforts have had a significant positive effect on race relations in their schools and communities. The Princeton Prize was launched last year in 2 cities. DC was the first place, and when some people here in Boston, I guess mainly it was you, Fred, heard it was going to be in DC, they said, why not Boston? And Henry said, why not Boston? So the first 2 were last year, and it was at the Payne annual meeting last year where it was launched. We decided that we try to outdo last year by coming this year to the Red Sox Stadium, and I'll read you a little bit in a minute as to how that idea came to be. But it's going to be hard to outdo this, I think, next year, unless Larry will have his back. But I do want to recognize Henry. This year it is in Boston, Washington, D.C., Houston, Atlanta, and St. Louis. Next year we will expand to Chicago, L.A., Philadelphia, and San Francisco with any luck. And Henry has been tireless in making the rounds all around the country, the Princeton clubs and the Princeton associations, spreading the word. So Henry, please stand and be recognized. I also want to thank all the alumni for coming out tonight and giving us your show of support, because it's not just a show of support to Payne, but it's also obviously a show of support to our hometown baseball team, my new hometown baseball team, and also a show of support to these students. And you're going to be hearing from them in a few minutes, and I think after you hear from them, you'll know why we're so enthusiastic about doing what we're doing. These are very courageous students, and it's great to have you all out here to recognize them tonight. And I want to give a final word of thanks to the parents and other supporters of these students who are honoring, because without your encouragement, these students may very well not have been able to achieve what they've been achieving. And so I urge you to continue to give them all the support that they deserve. Before we move to recognizing the students, though, I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge the committee that worked so hard to pull this off. They spread the word to local community schools and other organizations over the past year. We went through lots and lots of applications and distilled it down to the 10 winners and awardees that you'll hear about tonight. So let me, as I read your names of the committee members, please stand up. Mike Red, and it's something a lot of us find hard to talk about, but obviously these students have not. We're also going to be honored to have Larry come up and hand out the certificates, so he'll come up now.
That's cool.
He is a Princeton class of '67, as most of you know. He also happens to be president and CEO of the Red Sox. But let me tell you about how this idea for the venue came to mind. Back in October 8, 2004, the New York Times, I remember distinctly, I was sitting at, I have a commuter marriage, and my wife lives in Princeton, so I get to go there every other weekend. And I was sitting at my kitchen table there, and I opened up the Saturday New York Times and saw an article, October 8th, so you guys are in the middle of the playoffs, I guess, right? And it says, the Red Sox are passing baseball's chemistry test. Let me read to you 3 paragraphs. These are from the middle of the article. In past years, they were like so many other teams, rife with cliques, separated by ethnicity, never bothering to acknowledge the divisions that so obviously existed. At some point, the Red Sox finally realized that part of their problems on the field might have stemmed from some of their issues in the clubhouse. A few paragraphs later, this is from Kevin Millar. We will not allow cliques on this team, Millar said. Some clubs have black guys over here, whites over there, Latinos over there. I won't allow it. We play together, we shower together, we eat together, we're family, and there's just no reason to be segregated. And then the final is, I really think the best thing here is that we all get along so well. No matter what differences we have on the outside, Ramirez said, everybody gets along with everybody. No one here eats dinner alone. And to me, that really just kind of galvanized why we need to have this here tonight. So I called Larry, and he was just gracious and said, sure, why not? And I think you will hear some of his remarks later, and you'll understand why. So Larry's going to give out the certificates, and I'm about to read from some of the citations as to why these courageous students are being honored tonight. There were 8 certificate winners and 2 grand prize winners. Unfortunately, 2 of the 8 certificate winners will not be able to join us, but I'm going to read their names and their accomplishments in alphabetical order so everybody can appreciate the range of involvement of these young people tonight. So as I read your name, could you please come up and receive your certificate from Mr. Lucchino. Rebecca Amy. Rebecca is a senior at Newton North High School in Newton, and she's being recognized for facilitating dialogues about race relations in her school and in her community, including a project to discuss with students and teachers how the adventures of Huckleberry Finn is being taught at her school. Thank you, Rebecca. Ethiopia Almadi. Ethiopia is a senior at Boston Latin School, and she's being recognized for her leadership of the young leaders of color and for establishing ties between that student group and Freedom House, a nonprofit organization in Boston. Congratulations. Jeanette Buchanan. Jeanette is a senior at Lexington High School, and she's being recognized for her leadership in resuscitating and co-chairing United Voices, which is a student group created to provide a forum on diversity and to promote dialogue between school administrators and students of color. Congratulations, Jeanette. This event should include locally and nationally known speakers to discuss with students and faculty the pros and cons of affirmative action and coordinate same-day small group focus sessions for further study and discussion on these issues. As a junior, she coordinated an annual Latino Culture Day on Brown versus Board of Education and a day devoted to that at her school. As a senior, she co-founded with other students and teachers the Latino Scholars and Mentoring Program, as well as a social support group for Brookline High School girls, aptly named the Girls Group. Lastly, she performed this year as Lupe Reina in her school's production of Zoot Suit, a play about race relations by Latino playwright Luis Valdez. Tatiana, congratulations. Okay, next is Mark Fitzgerald. He's a senior at Needham High School. As a junior in the spring of 2004, Mark was nominated to chair the Needham High Civil Rights Team, an advisory group and open forum founded by teachers and students in response to rising racial tensions at his school. As a senior, this past fall, Mark undertook 25 hours of training, weekly meetings before school, and regular classroom visits to become a high school peer facilitator for the Anti-Defamation League. A few months ago, Mark coordinated Needham High School's Student Speak Out Assembly on racial and ethnic discrimination issues and presented a slideshow displaying graphic examples of hate graffiti found at his school and in neighboring towns. Lastly, Mark joined the town of Needham's Human Rights Committee, a multidimensional task force that meets regularly to promote diversity and to raise communities' consciousness about racial issues. Congratulations, Mark. And next up, we have Mark Fitzgerald.
Thanks to the Princeton Prize for Race Relations Committee for this award. It's been humbling to be a candidate for it, and even more humbling to receive it. Reading the accomplishments of Ms. Fernandez and the others who received certificates, I am very appreciative of how fortunate I am to share this award with her. I understand that I am just a recent high school graduate speaking to an audience, many of whom have the benefit of a Princeton education. But I do want to try and share a little of what I learned at Needham High and the Needham community with you. At our graduation, Superintendent Theall mentioned a classmate of mine from elementary, middle, and high school, Jake Vanderspeck, who passed away 2 years ago. Jake was confined to a wheelchair throughout his short life, but was courageous, joyous, and an inspiring person to everyone who met him. Superintendent Theall recalled how my classmates funded, helped design, construct, and dedicate a garden and fountain on a site Jake used to enjoy most at our elementary school. We did that as part of a community that cares for each other, that recognizes how important Jake was to each of us. This is the Needham that I am proud to be a part of. When Principal Richards, the teachers and students at Needham High School identified behaviors that were the opposite of caring and that were hurting others in our community, we took steps to raise awareness of and start the battle against prejudice and discrimination. I am proud to be part of that effort. The Civil Rights Team was the first group formed at Needham High to examine prejudice and discrimination there. After the first meeting, I approached 2 students, both black and both targets of many incidences of racism. I knew they had a better perspective than I had on what was happening. I asked them, how often does this happen? How often are you targeted? One of the 2 looked at me with a tear of pain falling from her eye. Every day, she responded, every day. I saw the fibers of humanity stretched to the very breaking point that day, on the verge of snapping. I wanted to help, to make a change. I wanted answers. I wanted to know how one person could hurt another so. Perhaps as I grow older, I will come to understand how people can hate others, can practice thoughtless, painful prejudice against members of the same community. how people can fail to see the courage and beauty that a person like Jake or anyone brings to life. That is what I find most difficult. I cannot understand how diversity fosters intolerance in some hearts rather than a celebration of differences. I cannot understand how one person is able to harm another. I cannot understand how some of my classmates question why someone who is white, blue-eyed, and blonde-haired is concerned for others and believes in combating intolerance no matter who the target is. Maybe I am still too young because I cannot understand how people do not celebrate the richness and diversity that inclusion brings to our schools and to our communities. I do hope that what we have started in Needham will improve race relations there. I know with time, patience, and effort, the strings of compassion among members of the Needham community will resonate with newfound harmonic chords. Thank you so much for this award, and that recognizes the efforts of so many people who are working so hard to accomplish what seems to be so simple and yet so important, caring for others. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I think you all realize now why it was so difficult to choose between the two, and also why we decided this year to break from tradition and hear from the students themselves. They're really inspiring stories, aren't they? Let's give them a hand again. I think they've basically laid out the challenge for all of us as adults, so hopefully you all will continue to support the efforts of young people as we and they try to continue to combat racism. Now to our featured speaker. He probably doesn't like to be called a featured speaker, but and he also doesn't need any introduction, so this will be quite short because I know all of us want to hear from Larry. But I find Larry's story a little bit interesting because he started out life as a lawyer. He actually started out life as a child. He's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he was